Whenever I get into a conversation with somebody about woodworking, they ask me what got me into it. The truth is, it's always spoken to me. It may sound cheesy, but woodworking is a spiritual activity to me. It's how I Sabbath. I think it's because when I'm making something, I deeply feel the parallels to my master carpenter and how he makes me. Every project starts out the same. I have some rough chunks of lumber, and I have a plan that will shape those splintered, warped, and blemished boards into something strong, something beautiful, and something lasting. This weekend I've been working on a workbench. I'm building a piece of furniture that will function as one of my primary tools in building future pieces. My plan for this wood is to make it into something strong, something beautiful, and something I will use to make other somethings. But in order for this furniture to fulfill my plans for it, I have to change it from its current state. I have a plan. I need to drill out a hole called a mortise in one of the legs. I'll start by roughly clearing out some of the stock to make way for the real surgery that's going to happen on this board. This board needs some pieces removed from it in order to fit my plan. It's rapid, it's brutal, and it leaves a huge mess. But it leaves the board the perfect preparation to serve its function in the body that I'm building. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this board sitting here with a hole in it while I work on something else. But I have a plan. I need to work on the mating board for this mortise that I've carved out. Now I'm creating a tenon at the end of another board. The first part of this process is cutting away some large chunks of this board all at once. It's different from the last board. Bigger pieces are being cut out, and they're being cut out faster. It's not as messy, but this board will be missing more of itself when I'm finished cutting, and I'm not finished with it yet. After I cut away the big chunks, I have to carve the edges. Next, I need to use a razor-sharp blade and a tool called a plane to shave off just the smallest amount from the sides of the tenon to make it fit tight. So much has already been taken from this board, and still I have to take just a little bit more. This is my favorite part of woodworking. I've made a mess. I've ripped these boards apart, sometimes in brutal and sudden fashion, and sometimes with very deliberate, very fine, very small cuts. But these boards are ready to fulfill my plan for them as I put them together for a perfect fit. You see, the tenon fills the gap that was cut away for the mortise, and the mortise surrounds what's left on that tenon, replacing the parts that the tenon board had lost. These boards are now stronger and more functional than they were before I started cutting them, and they've become part of a much larger structure. Each element has had pieces of itself cut away by me, but every step was with a purpose that I had in mind, because I had a plan. When I was first asked to present my hobby, I didn't really want to, but I felt the nudge of the Spirit that He had a word that someone needed to hear. Some of you may be getting the finer cuts or the shavings going on in your life right now. For my wife and I, we're undergoing major shaping, and it's messy, and it hurts. But we rest in the hope that our Master Carpenter is refining us for a purpose, and that He never leaves the mortises empty for too long, because He has a plan.